So in order to understand the present, we must understand history. And it's also very important to understand what the stories in the Bible. Because these are not just stories, they explain us what it means to be sons of God, sons of the flesh, Esau, Jacob. That's why I make these videos. So, is the nation of Israel God's promise to bring his people back and that's it? Or is it something else? I'm going to explain in this video and my next how the state of Israel is according to the Bible, but it is not a divine, godly intervention. And to understand this, and to understand who is ruling now till the Christ comes back, we have to understand the story about Jacob and Esau. So let's go into it. Jacob and Esau were rivals for the birthright and blessing, meaning the rulership or dominion. And in my video before this one, I explained these two mandates. When Esau was very hungry, he sold his birthright to Jacob for a bowl of soup. We read this in Genesis 25. The birthright was the ownership of all the property owned by Isaac. When Jacob purchased the birthright for a bowl of soup, this sale was unlawful. Because we read in the law in Leviticus 25:14, and if thou sell aught unto thy neighbor, associate or friend, meaning, or buyest or aught of thy neighbor's hand, ye shall not oppress, meaning not wrong or mistreat or to take advantage of one another. So Jacob broke the law when he took advantage of Esau by buying the birthright for a bowl of soup. So he paid a far too less of a price. This was not a fair price, a bowl of soup. Many years later, at the death of Isaac, the father, Jacob made the attempt to make things right with Esau, because they were still brothers. And we read this in Joshua 47. And at the death of Isaac, he left his cattle and his possessions and all belongings to him and to his sons. And Esau said unto Jacob, Behold, I pray thee, and that our father has left, we will divide it in two parts, and I will have the choice. And Jacob said, We will do so. And Jacob took all that Isaac had left in the land of Canaan, the cattle and the property, and he placed them in two parts before Esau and his sons. And he said unto Esau, Behold, all this is before thee. Choose thou unto thyself the half which thou wilt take. And Jacob said unto Esau, Hear thou, I pray thee, what I will speak unto thee, saying, The Lord God of heaven and earth spoke unto our fathers Abraham and Isaac, saying, Unto thy seed will I give this land for an inheritance forever. Now therefore all that our father has left is before thee, and behold, all the land is before thee. Choose thou from them what thou desirest. If thou desirest the whole land, take it for thee and thy children forever. And I will take this riches, and if thou desirest the riches, take it unto thee, and I will take this land for me, and for my children to inherit it forever. So the choice was between the wealth of Isaac and the land of Canaan. Esau, of course, decided to take the wealth and leave the land to Jacob, because the land was already claimed by the Canaanites and might never be inherited. The deal was recorded in a book, signed and sealed. Esau moved back to his territory south of Canaan, and Jacob remained in Canaan. And this settled the dispute, at least temporary. What they neither understood was that the land of Canaan included much more than just a geographical land inheritance. We see in Genesis 1, 26 and 28, it's talking about the dominion. The promise of God of the birthright was the promise of sonship. In other words, the so-called land inheritance was really a manifestation of the sons of God. That is, Adam's body was spiritual flesh, his earthly body manifested the glory of God. The purpose of creation was for God to manifest his glory in the earth that he had created. The highest manifestation of glory was reserved for Adam and later man in general. The body, though made from earthly materials, was not evil, but very good, according to Genesis 1:31. God was always glorified in the heavens, but God created this earth in order to glorify himself in this dimension as well. But Adam sinned and lost that glorified body. That is, he literally lost his inheritance and found himself in bondage to an earthly body that was devoid of the former glory. The purpose of history is for man to regain the glorified body where the dust of the ground once again houses and manifests divine glory. So for this reason, the sonship is actually man's prime inheritance. It is the real land of Canaan that God intended from the beginning to give us. The old land of Canaan was merely a type and shadow of the real inheritance. Yet when Esau chose the wealth, leaving Jacob with the promise of the land, Esau was despising the true birthright once again. And Jacob obtained the promise of sonship that was inherited, but disguised in the land of Canaan. The point is that Esau was given a fair choice this time, but Esau was carnal. He was not a spiritual man and could not discern what was really at stake here. He chose the immediate blessing of wealth and rejected what was really at stake. Paul called it the redemption of our body, Romans 8:23. Let's look at Jacob, how he stole the dominion mandate by fraud. Isaac was ready to pass on the blessing to his oldest son, Esau. Isaac was sick, blind, weak, and felt his life was coming to an end. Isaac intended to give dominion, the blessing, to his oldest son Esau. He sent Esau to hunt venison, or in other words, game, for the occasion. But Rebekah overheard the conversation and remembered the prophecy during her pregnancy, that the older shall serve the younger. So she immediately decided to help God secure the blessing for Jacob, taking advantage of Isaac's blindness. Read this in Genesis 27. Jacob pretended to be Esau, even dressing in Esau's finest clothing. Genesis 27. Then Rebekah took the best garments of Esau, her eldest son, and were with her in the house, and put them on Jacob, her youngest son. And she put the skins of the kids on his hands, and on the smooth part of his neck. So Isaac was suspicious because he seemed to recognize Jacob's voice as he posed as Esau. Genesis 27. And Jacob said to his father, I am Esau, your firstborn. I have done as you told me. Get up, please, sit and eat of my game, that you may bless me. So Jacob was deceiving his father, posing as Esau. But Isaac was still suspicious. Genesis 27. And he said, Are you really my son Esau? And he said, I am. Isaac then blessed Jacob and proclaimed him as his successor from Adam's divinely appointed to rule the earth. But then Esau returned with the game and requested the blessing. When he was told that Jacob had already usurped it, he was furious, understandably. Isaac was also greatly disturbed by Jacob's deceit. In Genesis 27 we read, Then he said, Is he not rightly named Jacob? For he has supplanted me these 2 times. He took away my birthright, and behold, now he has taken away my blessing. And he said, Have you not reserved a blessing for me? Here we see a clear distinction between the birthright and the blessing. Many years later, Jacob preserved this distinction when he blessed his 12 sons, giving the blessing of the dominion mandate to Judah and the birthright mandate to Joseph. We read this in 1 Chronicles 5. Now the sons of Reuben, the firstborn of Israel, for he was the firstborn, but because he defiled his father's bed, his birthright was given to the sons of Joseph, the son of Israel, so that he is not enrolled in a genealogy according to the birthright, though Judah prevailed over his brothers, and from him came the leader. Yet the birthright belonged to Joseph. So we see that Judah received the blessing of leadership, and this meant that from him would come the king of Israel, most importantly, the Messiah. On the other hand, Joseph received the birthright, which was the mandate to be fruitful and multiply. The birthright included then the people of Israel, that is, the kingdom itself. This was a type and shadow of a greater fulfillment that was yet to come. Not merely carnal people who were nationally known by the name Israel, but the sons of God manifested in the earth. When God gave the fruitfulness mandate to the Adamic people, he did not intend to produce merely fleshly children, but the sons of God. The nation of Israel was certainly called to bring forth the kingdom and bring forth the sons of God, but they failed to do so. The blessing of the dominion mandate was to produce the king, the Messiah. Having the birthright was to possess the kingdom. Jacob supplanted Esau in both of these. So we read in James 2:9, but if you have respect to persons, you commit sin and are convinced of the law as transgressors. And this is exactly what Jacob did. He had respect to Esau. In other words, he treated him differently. He treated him not rightly. So the law is impartial, and Esau had a case against Jacob because Jacob wronged him. So many in the mainstream church teaches us that Jacob did the right thing. They justify what Jacob did, but his actions cannot be justified. And this is very important to understand. This is if you understand this, you understand the Israel of now. Jacob lied to his blind father. For this reason, God had to hold Jacob responsible. So he led Isaac to pronounce a very important blessing upon Esau, a blessing which was not fulfilled until the 20th century. Yes, 1948, there was a blessing given to Esau. So the land of Israel is now possessed by people of Esau, and this will be till the Christ returns. And in the next video I will show you how this happened, and so we can discern who are the sons of God, who is the true Israel, and what is the nation of Israel today. God bless.